Have you ever felt that subtle, yet persistent, tightness in your chest? That question, veiled in glances or direct in family conversations, that seems to come from all sides. So, son, aren't you getting married? When are you going to find someone real, huh? It's time to settle down and build a family, isn't it? We live in a world that relentlessly pushes us towards the security of a fixed relationship, as if being single were a disease to be cured, a shameful state of incompleteness to be filled at all costs. Do you feel this constant pressure, this urgent need to fill a void that, perhaps, you didn't even know existed, but which society insists on pointing out, and which, at times, you yourself, unconsciously, internalize as your own failure? Think carefully for a moment. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you found yourself aimlessly scrolling through social media, immersed in an almost suffocating sea of photos and videos of seemingly perfect couples traveling to exotic destinations, laughing together in cozy cafes, celebrating weddings or dating anniversaries with public declarations that verge on unreality? And, upon seeing all this, did you feel not just a slight discomfort, but a corrosive mix of envy, guilt, and a deep, haunting question? Am I doing something fundamentally wrong with my life? Is true happiness really there, in that paradise? For two they display, and am I, somehow inexplicably, missing out on life, on its true meaning? This silent doubt, this constant murmur in the mind, is the seed of a paralyzing anxiety that culture itself, without us realizing it, plants and waters daily. But what if I told you that this relentless pursuit of a relationship status, this frantic race to fill a supposed void, might actually be the biggest and most treacherous saboteur of your inner peace? And what if true freedom, unwavering serenity, and authentic happiness were waiting for you in an unexpected place, a place you might not have even considered, a place that ancient wisdom, born from the greatest minds in humanity, pointed to millennia ago, long before social media and modern pressures existed to divert us from our path? Epictetus, a man who began his life in chains, a slave who, against all odds, became one of the greatest masters of Stoicism, bequeathed to us a surprisingly simple, yet revolutionary, map to this freedom. He taught us the dichotomy of control, the supreme and vital ability to discern with crystal clarity, without illusions, what is truly within our power and what is, irrefutably and absolutely, completely beyond it. And it is precisely here, in this radical and transformative distinction, in this line you draw between your inner and outer world, that the first and most crucial secret to your peace lies, my friend. Whether you're single and feeling the pressure, or in a relationship and carrying a burden that doesn't belong to you, prepare to see your reality in a new, and perhaps uncomfortable, but liberating light. Observe for a moment, with the detachment of a sage, without judgment, just with clarity, the man embedded in a serious relationship. He often finds himself bound by invisible, yet incredibly strong and suffocating chains. The chronic and exhausting anxiety to constantly please, the paralyzing fear of loss, whether of social status, companionship, or the validation he seeks from another. There's also the exhausting pressure to conform to expectations that, most of the time, are not his own, but his partner's, her family's, the couple's friends, and the very image society imposes on the perfect couple. Where is the control over his own day, over his own fundamental decisions, when every step, every choice of leisure, every word spoken or unspoken can become a point of contention, a topic for an endless discussion, or an exhaustive and repetitive justification to be given? Think of the incalculable amount of vital energy that is drained, drop by drop, day after day. Imagine having to navigate obligatory family dinners that suck your soul, endless arguments over trivialities, like the color of curtains, or who should do the dishes, that steal your sleep, corrode your patience, and drain your joy of living. Consider the financial obligations that seem to grow endlessly, not to fund his goals and dreams, but to maintain a life that is not entirely his own, to fund others' whims, or to sustain a lifestyle he, alone, might not even desire or be able to afford. Imagine the feeling of having to justify every hour of leisure, every personal purchase that doesn't involve the other, every choice of friends. Where does genuine freedom, autonomy, lightness reside in this scenario? It's a constant and exhausting juggling act between his deepest desires and hers, between the authentic man he truly is and the man she expects, demands, or manipulates him to be. This is the gilded cage, a place that looks beautiful on the outside, but inside can suffocate his essence. You, who are in a relationship now, can you truly see yourself in this mirror? Do you recognize this exhausting dance, this constant sacrifice of yourself in the name of us? How many times has your own inner voice, your own deepest desires and sacred boundaries been brutally silenced, neglected, or even crushed in the name of an artificial peace or to avoid a conflict that seemed bigger than you? How many times have you found yourself completely exhausted, physically and mentally, at the end of the day? Not from physical labor or external challenges, but from the invisible and constant emotional drain of managing another person's expectations, volatile moods, and endless dramas. This exhaustion, my friend, is a sign, an unequivocal sign that your most valuable resources, your mental, emotional, and spiritual energy are being diverted, wasted, and perhaps even stolen. Where are they being invested? In your inner peace, or in someone else's chaos? Now, contemplate your position as a single man. You possess an asset that is the most valuable and scarce currency of the 21st century: uninterrupted time and focused energy. There are no exhaustive and draining negotiations about how to spend the weekend, no incessant demands for attention that arise every minute, no constant burden of managing someone else's drama, which doesn't belong to you and which you cannot control. Your energy, that very energy that so many spend in endless arguments, in unfounded jealousies that destroy trust, or in the heroic and futile attempt to fix what cannot be fixed in another, is now, totally and exclusively, at your disposal. Think deeply about this. What could you build? What could you learn? What kind of unshakable man could you become if every ounce of that vital energy, every minute of that precious and unrecoverable time, were directed with iron discipline, an unwavering purpose towards your own self-improvement, towards your physical and mental health, towards your career and your most ambitious projects, towards your knowledge and the incessant pursuit of wisdom, towards your highest purposes, and towards cultivating your own soul, your inner garden? Epictetus, with his polished clarity and practical wisdom, would say, "Do not seek that things should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." True peace, my friend, is not getting everything you want in a relationship, nor submitting to an external script dictated by others. It resides in accepting what is, including your single status. If that's the case, and focusing tirelessly on what you can and must control, your own character, your own choices, and your own actions. Your peace is a secret garden you cultivate alone, with the seeds of virtue and the fertilizer of self-discipline. A garden that flourishes for you, not for external applause. You, who are single, are you truly taking advantage of this monumental freedom you possess, this power to be the master of your own time and energy? Or are you trapped in the societal narrative that you desperately need someone to be complete and happy? Are you cultivating your own garden, watering your own seeds? Or are you waiting for someone else to come and plant it for you? And you, who are committed, can you honestly, without masks, see how much of yourself, of your essence, of your autonomy, of your very vitality has been donated, sacrificed, or even stolen by the dynamics of the relationship? Do you ask yourself, in your most honest and silent moments, if this massive investment of your life is truly yielding the peace, joy, and fulfillment you expected and deserved? Are your most precious resources, your time and energy, being invested in your inner peace and personal flourishing? Or are they being drained and wasted by someone else's chaos? Endless expectations and dramas that aren't yours, but which you carry as if they were. The answer to that question is the first and most painful, yet fundamental, step towards your freedom. Stoicism, contrary to what many mistakenly believe, does not advocate celibacy or monastic seclusion from society. We are human beings. We are born for connection, and the need for interaction, including biological, is an intrinsic part of our nature. But Stoicism, in its purest essence, advocates virtue in all your actions, in every interaction, in every choice you make. For the single man who embraces this philosophy, this means that casual relationships, when guided by reason, temperance, brutal honesty, and unconditional respect, do not become sources of anxiety, external validation, or an existential void to be filled. On the contrary, they can and should be seen as valuable opportunities to exercise self-knowledge, emotional discipline, and authenticity, without ever falling into the trap of attachment or emotional dependency that drains your soul, corrodes your peace, and prevents you from being who you truly are. Here, my friend, the difference between the Stoic single man and the man trapped in the relentless pursuit of a serious relationship is absolutely crucial. While many in fixed relationships feel compelled to wear masks, to act a role, to suppress their true essence, their tastes, their opinions, and even their most sacred boundaries to maintain a superficial harmony, or, worse, to avoid a conflict that seems imminent and unbearable, the single man who lives by Stoic precepts acts with unwavering authenticity. He does not seek to conquer someone to fill an existential void or to feel validated by another human being. He relates honestly, respectfully, with clarity of intention, and without attachment to the outcome. He understands, with the wisdom of the ancients, that human nature seeks connection, yes, but that his happiness and peace cannot, under any circumstances, be conditional on it. He knows, with certainty, that control lies in his actions and reactions, and not in the actions, reactions, or permanence of the other. He is the master of his own ship, even in shared waters. Have you ever found yourself desperately seeking external approval to define your own worth as a man? Have you ever caught yourself changing who you truly are, your tastes, your deepest opinions, your non-negotiable principles, just to be accepted, to avoid inconvenience, or to keep someone around who, deep down, might not even truly value you? In your interactions, whatever they may be, casual or not, do you act to impress, to manipulate a perception of yourself, or to maintain your integrity and authenticity, remembering that true control resides only in your mind and in your virtuous actions, and not in the volatile actions, reactions, or judgments of others? True strength, my friend, is not about having someone by your side at all costs, about clinging to a status. It lies in being so complete, so self-sufficient, and so unshakable within yourself that you simply do not need anyone to be whole, to be happy, to be yourself. This, and only this, is freedom. Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, in their profound and timeless writings, constantly remind us of the undeniable and brutal impermanence of all external things. Relationships, no matter how intense, passionate, and seemingly secure, inevitably end, whether through a painful breakup, a change in circumstances that no one controls, or the very ephemeral nature of life itself. People change, feelings fade, circumstances transform in ways we could never predict. The much-sought security of a commitment, of a forever promised in fairy tales, is often a cruel illusion that traps us in unrealistic expectations and transforms into an invisible chain. How many men have truly lost themselves in relationships, abandoning their dearest principles, their loyal friends, their individual passions, and even their very identity and essence to maintain a peace that, deep down, was superficial and illusory, only to watch everything painfully crumble before their eyes, leaving them emptier than before. The single man who understands and internalizes this profound Stoic truth, that of the impermanence of all that is external, does not build his happiness on the shifting, unstable sands of external relationships. He builds it with patience and discipline on the unshakable rock of his own character. His true and only security is not in a ring on his finger, a Facebook status, or the volatile approval of a partner. It resides, indestructibly and eternally, in the fortress of his mind, in his unwavering self-discipline, and in his unquestionable virtue. He understands, with the clarity of a visionary, that everything external can be taken from him at any moment. But what he has built within himself, his wisdom, his courage, his justice, his temperances, forever. A treasure no one can steal. Are you, in fact, seeking your security, your identity, and your peace in something that, by its very intrinsic nature, can be taken from you at any moment, without warning? Or are you investing your energy, your time, and your life in the only thing no one can ever steal, your unshakable character, your disciplined mind, your ability to be virtuous and unshakable, regardless of the external circumstances life imposes upon you? The complacency that often insidiously sets in during a relationship, under the illusion of security, can lead to self-neglect, to the loss of your identity and your vital force. Singleness, when viewed not as a burden, but as an opportunity, through the Stoic lens, is not a curse, but a constant and powerful invitation to self-discipline, to continuous growth, and to the construction of your inner fortress. It is, in fact, an intense training ground for true virtue and for your absolute self-sufficiency. Are you ready to accept this arduous, but incredibly rewarding, journey of self-building? The true and lasting inner peace of a man, whether single or not, does not lie in the frantic search for a partner, in the desperate attempt to fill a void imposed by society, nor in the bitter and resentful rejection of human connections. No, it lies, undeniably, in the unshakable building of himself, in the absolute mastery of his own mind, of his volatile emotions, and in the serene and courageous acceptance of what is irremediably beyond his control. It is never about selfishness, far from it. It is about fundamental and primary responsibility to oneself. For, just like a robust pillar of an ancient temple, you can only support what is around you, be it friends, family, or even a future, healthy and prosperous relationship, if you are absolutely firm and unshakable in your own foundation, in your own center, in your own integrity. If your internal structure is fragile, if your values are flexible and negotiable at the whim of external winds and others' manipulations, you will attract not a genuine and uplifting partner, but a chaos artist, someone who will applaud you and use you as long as you please her, and will leave you, or worse, slowly and painfully destroy you, when you refuse to abandon your principles and diminish yourself to fit into her world. Are you ready to embrace this liberating truth, which, yes, can be uncomfortable at first? Ready to stop seeking your happiness, your identity, and your peace in something that is intrinsically beyond your control, something that can crumble at any moment? Embrace your solitude, not as a burden to be carried, but as a fertile field, an internal alchemy laboratory for the deepest and most significant self-development of your life. Your peace, my friend, is not in finding someone. It is in your very being. It is in being the man you were born to be, in your fullness, with your virtues polished and your mind unshakable. And when you become that man unshakable in your virtue, self-sufficient in your spirit, and serene in your mind, the worries and pressures of external life become mere distant noises, incapable of disturbing your inner fortress. The final decision is yours, my brother. This is the crossroads of your life. It's not about who to love, but what, in fact, to protect. What to protect at all costs. Your non-negotiable peace, your inner rhythm, your authentic voice, your masculine clarity, and your sovereignty over yourself. For, in the end, there are only two paths a man can choose to walk in this life. The path that leads him to seek external validation at all costs, to bend to others' expectations, and to build his life and identity on the shifting sands of a relationship that, at times, only drains him. This path requires you to bend, to diminish yourself, to annul yourself. And the path that leads you to build your inner fortress, to become self-sufficient in your virtue, to find unshakable peace in your own control, and to live according to your highest principles. This path, my friend, requires you to elevate yourself, to rise up, to become the man you were always meant to be. Which of these paths will you choose, starting today? The choice is yours, and your peace, your true and lasting peace, is waiting. If this message resonated with you, like it, share it, and subscribe to join our growing community of strength and wisdom. Thank you.